It will be hard living in the beginning on Mars, not like a luxury situation.
Who even gets the privilege, if we can call it that, of facing these challenges? Is it the highest bidder, the most qualified scientist, or someone else entirely? This isn't a lottery you win. It's a selection process that could determine the future of humanity. Let's dig into the ethical dilemmas. Imagine the first settlers are chosen based on their wealth. This isn't just about the cost of a seat on a spaceship. It's the first step in a process that could shape the future of Martian society. The wealthy get the first dibs on life-changing opportunities, while the rest are left to watch from the sidelines. This could lead to a Martian society that mirrors Earth's most glaring inequalities, where the gap between the privileged and the underprivileged isn't just a social issue, it extends to an entirely different planet. Then there's the question of resource exploitation. Mars isn't just a barren landscape. It's a planet with finite resources like water and minerals. The last thing we want is a space-age gold rush where countries and corporations scramble to stake their claim, depleting what Mars has to offer. This isn't just about hoarding minerals, it's about setting a dangerous precedent for how we treat new frontiers. Imagine the geopolitical tensions that would come up if one country claimed a significant portion of Mars's water supply. It's a recipe for conflict that could impact Earth and Mars, potentially leading to a new kind of space warfare over who controls these precious resources. And what about the rights of potential life on Mars? We're talking microbes here, not little green men, but even microbes have a form of existence that warrants consideration. If we discover them, should their existence be protected under some form of planetary protection guidelines? It's akin to finding a rare species in the Amazon. Its existence changes the rules of the game. What if these microbes hold the key to understanding life's resilience, or even its origins? Their discovery could force us to rewrite the playbook for space exploration, making us question whether we have the right to alter or destroy another form of life for our benefit. As we ponder who gets to go and what they get to do, let's not forget that Mars isn't just a blank canvas for humanity's ambitions. We're setting the rules for a game that's bigger than any of us, and the choices we make could shape not just the future of Mars, but of humanity itself. Picture this. The year is 1848, and gold has just been discovered in California. Almost overnight, the sleepy state transformed into a bustling hub of activity. People from all walks of life, seasoned miners, inexperienced young men, and even entire families flocked to the West Coast in search of fortune. But what many found wasn't just gold. It was a chaotic, lawless environment where greed often trumped ethics. Miners staked claims on lands without regard for existing inhabitants, leading to violent conflicts and a rapid depletion of resources. Fast forward to Mars. Could the red planet be our modern-day California? A new frontier where everyone wants a piece of the pie? Just like the gold rush, the allure of untapped resources could create a frenzy. We're not talking about just gold. We're talking about essential resources like water, rare earth minerals, and other valuable metals like platinum. The rush to claim these could lead to a space rush, a chaotic scramble where the absence of laws and regulations could result in a free-for-all. Countries and corporations alike might stake claims without any oversight, leading to potential conflicts that could make the Wild West look like a playground. But the gold rush isn't our only cautionary tale. Remember the colonization of the Americas? When settlers arrived in the New World, they were driven by a sense of entitlement, believing they had the divine right to take over lands and exploit resources. This led to the decimation of indigenous populations through disease, warfare, and forced relocations. It also established a colonial system that perpetuated inequality for generations. Could Mars be the stage for a similar drama, but with the players being countries and corporations instead of individual groups of settlers? The risk is there. Without proper planning and considerations, Mars could become a playground for the wealthy and powerful, leaving the marginalized, once again, pushed to the sidelines. The colonization of the Americas and the gold rush were pivotal events that shaped the course of modern history, but they were also fraught with ethical and moral dilemmas. The exploitation of resources led to environmental degradation, from deforestation to water pollution. As we set our sights on Mars, we have the opportunity to learn from these historical events. Will we prioritize sustainability and equitable distribution, or will we allow for a free-for-all that could deplete Mars's resources, just as we've done on Earth? Terraforming Mars is a tantalizing concept. Imagine turning the red planet green with oceans, forests, and maybe even some Martian squirrels. But let's pump the brakes for a second. Terraforming isn't just planting a few trees and calling it a day. It's a massive geoengineering project that could have unintended consequences. We're talking about changing the very fabric of a planet. It's like trying to turn a sandbox into a garden. You can't just throw some seeds in and hope for the best. You have to consider the soil composition, the climate, and a host of other factors. Mars has a very thin atmosphere, composed mostly of carbon dioxide, with traces of nitrogen and argon. It provides a delicate balance that allows for the existence of frozen water at the poles and the potential for subsurface water reservoirs. If we start introducing Earth-like gases in the process of terraforming or through industrial activities, we could inadvertently tip that balance. We've seen the consequences of climate imbalance here on Earth, with melting polar ice caps and extreme weather events. Do we want to risk creating a Martian climate crisis before we even establish a sustainable presence? Then there's the issue of pollution. Mars is pristine, untouched by human activity. But once we get there, how long before we start leaving our mark in the form of waste, chemicals, or even just the dust from our ships and cargo? The introduction of foreign substances could have a ripple effect on the Martian environment. It's akin to introducing a non-native species to a new ecosystem. The consequences can be unpredictable and often harmful. So, as we dream about making Mars our second home, let's not forget that we're dealing with a complex and fragile system. We're not just visitors, we are potential disruptors, and the choices we make could have long-lasting impacts, not just for us, but for the Martian environment we're so eager to explore.
I think probably we would aim for a more direct democracy, and I was talking to Larry Page about this, and he had a good suggestion, like we should limit the number of words in a law, because like we have these 1,000-page laws that get passed, and like nobody's read them. Yeah, like I don't know, 1,000-word letter count or something like that. If you can't write the law in 1,000 words, then probably it shouldn't be there. Just we shouldn't have, a single law passed that's like the size of Lord of the Rings.
Imagine you're a Martian settler, and you've just discovered a new mineral deposit. Who do you report to? Is it SpaceX? NASA? Or some Martian governing body? This isn't a hypothetical question. It's a legal labyrinth that we're going to have to navigate soon after setting up shop. Let's start with space governance. Right now, the Outer Space Treaty of 1967 is the closest thing we have to space law. It prohibits any country from claiming celestial bodies, but it's silent on private entities. That's like having maritime laws that don't account for privately owned boats. Companies like SpaceX and Blue Origin are already pushing the boundaries, both legally and literally. They're not just launching rockets, they're launching a new era of legal ambiguity. What happens when Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos decide to build a factory on Mars? Who's in charge of figuring out if it's safe? Will it be the United Nations stepping in? Or perhaps a new interplanetary council? The governance gap is widening, and it's only a matter of time before it needs to be filled. Now let's talk about Martian authority. If we're going to have a sustainable colony, there needs to be some sort of governance. Think back to the Wild West, a lawless frontier until sheriffs and judges were introduced. Mars could be the Wild West of the next century, but instead of gunslingers, we have rocket scientists and engineers. The question is, who appoints the Martian sheriff? Is it an Earth-based organization? Or do the Martian settlers get to elect their own leaders? And what legal system would they follow? Common law? Civil law? Or something entirely new? The governance structure we choose could set the precedent for future space colonies, making it a decision of astronomical importance. Martian citizenship is another legal quagmire. If you're born on Mars, are you a citizen of Mars, Earth, or both? It's like being born in international waters. The legalities are murky at best. And what about taxes? The American IRS claims that all citizens must pay taxes, no matter where they live. Does that mean future Martians will be sending their tax returns to Earth? The idea of Martian taxation might have a certain ring to it, but the actual logistics could turn into a bureaucratic mess. Will there be dual citizenship, or will Martians have their own passports? What happens if a Martian commits a crime? Where will they be tried? These are not just legal questions, they're questions that could shape society for generations to come. So as we dream of Martian colonies, let's not forget that we're not just exporting people and technology, we're exporting Earth's complexities too. The legal landscape of Mars is an uncharted territory filled with questions that could redefine governance as we know it. Imagine being stuck in a submarine deep under the ocean for months on end. Now, amplify that isolation by 1,000, and you get a glimpse of what life on Mars could be like. The nearest help is millions of miles away, and the only faces you see are the same ones, day in and day out. This isn't just a test of engineering and science. It's a test of human endurance and mental fortitude. Isolation can lead to a host of psychological issues, from depression to anxiety. In the 1960s, the U.S. Navy's Sea Lab program submerged astronauts in isolated underwater habitats to study the effects of long-term isolation. The results? A range of psychological stressors that could be magnified exponentially on Mars. We're talking about mood swings, interpersonal conflicts, and even hallucinations. The mind plays tricks when it's confined, and the Martian environment is the ultimate confinement. Then there's the question of identity. What happens when you're so far removed from Earth, from your home, your country, and your culture? Do you become a Martian first and an Earthling second? During the American Civil War, the concept of a state identity often trumped national identity. Soldiers from, for example, Virginia saw themselves as Virginians first and Americans second. Could a similar shift happen on Mars, where settlers start identifying more with their Martian habitat than their earthly origins? Conflict resolution is another murky area. On Earth, we have established systems of governance and law to settle disputes. But what happens when you're on a planet where those systems don't exist? It's another lawless frontier, but with spacesuits and laser drills. The absence of established law could lead to a survival of the fittest scenario, where might makes right. And let's not forget, in such a high-stakes, high-stress environment, conflicts are not just likely, they're inevitable. So as we ponder the potential of making Mars our second home, we have to ask, are we prepared for the social and psychological toll that it could take? Have you ever heard of the Mary Celeste? It's a tale that could give anyone chills. Imagine this. It's 1872. A ship was found floating in the Atlantic Ocean. Everything on board was in perfect condition. Food? Check. Water? Plenty. Personal affairs? Untouched. But here's where it gets weird. There was no one on board, not a single person. It's like they vanished into thin air. To this day, no one knows what happened to the crew. It's one of the ocean's biggest unsolved mysteries. Now let's shift to thinking about Mars as the space version of the Mary Celeste, a place full of questions we can't answer. For instance, Mars has these random spikes in methane levels that have scientists scratching their heads. On Earth, methane is often a byproduct of biological activity. Could this be a sign of microbial life on Mars? Or could it be a geological process we don't yet understand? The mystery deepens when you consider that the Curiosity rover detected seasonal variations in the methane, making the puzzle even more complex. Where Mars lacks in fossil fuel, it is abundant in sunlight and wind. The solar panels and wind turbines designed for Mars will need to be the epitome of efficiency and durability. Imagine the implications for renewable energy projects here on Earth. Could Mars serve as the ultimate proving ground for next-gen sustainable energy solutions? And let's not overlook the data aspect. Mars missions generate a staggering amount of data. To sift through this mountain of information will require cutting-edge algorithms and computing technologies. Consider it the ultimate benchmark for big data analytics. Advances in this area could redefine everything from climate modeling to financial market predictions. So as we gaze into the future, we must ponder, what other technological marvels could Mars bestow upon us?
Earth's been around 4.5 billion years, and this is the first time in 4.5 billion years that it's been possible to extend life beyond Earth. And that window of opportunity may be open for a long time, and I hope it is, but it also may be open for a short time. And I think it was wise for us to act quickly while the window is open.
What if the very idea of separate nations started to dissolve, replaced by a global community united by a shared mission of colonizing Mars? It's not just a pipe dream. Mars offers a unique opportunity to rethink how society is structured, to reimagine what it means to be a community. The advancements we make on Mars could do more than just meet a set of scientific objectives. They could fundamentally reshape society in ways we've never seen before. Take the International Space Station as an example. It's not just a floating laboratory. It's a marvel of international cooperation. Astronauts from the United States, Russia, Europe, and Asia live and work together in a confined space, sharing resources and responsibilities. The ISS has become a symbol of what humanity can achieve when we set aside our differences. Could Mars be the next ISS, but on a much grander, more permanent scale? A Martian society built from scratch would be free from the historical baggage that Earth carries. No existing political systems, no ingrained social hierarchies. We could create a society that truly values equality, where resources are shared for the common good. Think of it as a societal reboot. It's like the founding fathers drafting the US Constitution, but this time we have the benefit of more hindsight. We know the recent pitfalls, the loopholes, and the triggers for inequality. We have a chance to get it right from the start, to build a society that's not just a copy of Earth's, but an improvement upon it. But also, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Building a society is no small feat. It would require unprecedented levels of cooperation and trust among both nations and individuals. We need to create new systems of governance, perhaps even new economic models that go beyond things like capitalism or socialism. Consider a Martian cryptocurrency that's not just a speculative asset, but the backbone of a new Martian economy designed to be equitable and sustainable from the get-go. It's definitely a tall order, but the potential rewards, both for Mars and Earth, are immense. You've probably heard the saying, necessity is the mother of invention. Well, Mars is the ultimate test of that. With a barren landscape and a thin atmosphere, the red planet is a harsh teacher, but the lessons learned could be revolutionary for Earth. Take the issue of waste management, for example. On Mars, you can't just throw things away. There is no away. Every piece of waste must be recycled or repurposed. This closed-loop system is something we've been trying to perfect on Earth for years. But Mars could be the crash course we need to finally get it right. Imagine a world where landfills are obsolete because we've learned to make the most out of every resource. Then there's energy consumption. Mars doesn't have the luxury of fossil fuels, so settlers will have to rely on renewable energy sources like solar and wind power. The innovations developed to sustain life on Mars could accelerate our transition to clean energy here on Earth. Think about this. What if there were solar panels so efficient they can generate power through a Martian dust storm? If we can do that on Mars, what's stopping us from doing it here on Earth? Water conservation is another lesson Mars can teach us. With water being a scarce resource on the red planet, every drop counts. Technologies developed for water reclamation and purification on Mars could solve water scarcity issues in arid regions on Earth. Mars isn't just a new frontier for humanity, it's a laboratory for sustainable living. The challenges of Martian life could force us to be innovative in ways that benefit not just the settlers of a distant planet, but for everyone here on Earth. Every dream has its challenges, and Mars is no exception. We have to wonder, are we so captivated by the allure of the red planet that we're willing to risk it turning into a nightmare.